committee meeting. If you please stand for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we'll start off today's committee meeting from here in speak on our feasibility study.
Kind of version of our PowerPoint presentation. So it's about 10, 12 slides. Won't take up much of your time here. Some of this is a review. We do have some goodies at the end for digestion and conversation. Real quick recap. Our feasibility study composed of 3 different aspects: facilities, demographics, and education. And working through the whole process, we end up getting to the results that are on the right. As we discussed before, we're actually able to scrub the summary of all the building deficiencies through our process, working with the team here, and we're able to get this by several $1 million. So basically, overall, the overall deficiencies throughout the campus, all buildings, is about $36 million, as you can see there, which equates to about $90 a square foot. That is typically right on the nose with our threshold of above and below. Typically, if you're above $90 a square foot, it means you got some work to do. If you're below it, it means you probably got a little work to do, but you're in pretty good shape compared to most districts. We kind of average that across all the districts that we work with. Put it into perspective is we see some districts that are well over $200 a square foot, with some of their stuff. So it really depends on how well you keep up your facilities, but you're not in bad shape, all things considered. We also kind of rank the deficiencies here from 1 to 4, 1 meaning hair on fire. Hey, if we get to it, we get to it. We also kind of resorted the rankings here working with the team, and we're able to kind of shift a few things out of rank 1 and move them to rank 2. So rank 2 is the category right now, about $21 million. There's $22 million in deficiencies. You can also see the interior evaluation and HVAC along with electrical, or the bulk of it in our categories as we break them down up top. And then we also break them down further by building with Penn Kidder and LB Morris being the top 2, with the high school and DAO kind of followed closely thereafter. So we also kind of took a little peek at this because the $90 a square foot can be a little deceiving. So we start looking by building, saying, okay, do you have any kind of problem children, so to speak, with a specific building or not? We broke it down. LB Marsh is about $88 a square foot. Penn Kidder is $126, and in high school DAO is $74 a square foot. So it kind of tells you a little bit different story here when you start looking building by building, where some of the issues are with your facilities. As we got into last presentation, we kind of narrowed it down to 3 different options. With our first option typically being our status quo, we need something to measure all the other options against. Our option number 2 maintains all 3 schools and it has a grade realignment with Penn Kidder and LB Morris. With Penn Kidder being K through 3, LB Morris then becoming a 4 through 8, and the high school maintaining a 9 through 12. Option number 3, which we're vetting out also, would be closing Penn Kidder, building a new K through 3 school, and then LB Morris becoming 4 through 8, similar to option number 2. All 3 options here are addressing rank 1 and 2 deficiencies at the buildings. So we just want to make sure that was clear. Especially when we get into closing a building and building a new school, for option number 3. The kind of executive summary here with enrollment, you can kind of just see where we're at with the chart. The red circles kind of indicate the high points back in 2008, 2009, about 1,500 students. Overall, 2012, 2013 was your high point with 2197. And then right now, Your current enrollment for this year is 123 on the kindergarten dynamic, and your overall enrollment is about 1686. Roughly, as we look at the different methods, method one is PDE, you're declining about by 156 students, and method two kind of contradicts that a little bit, that you're increasing by 116 students. So that's why we look at the different methods, because depending on how you look at it, they tell a different story. We're more concerned about, are there any long-term trends that we're seeing over, say, a 5, 6, 7-year period? We typically see 1 or 2 year hiccups, but we want to see if they become a trend that the district would have to address, whether either enrollment increasing or enrollment significantly decreasing. And in method 3, we're also looking at available housing projects. We're working through that right now. We've seen a couple different dynamics that might potentially increase enrollment, but again, we kind of have to vet that out carefully because we don't overreact. It is never a one-to-one dynamic, so if, say, 300 new housing units are built, it's not, we don't say, okay, there's going to be 300 new students, one per household. We take a percentage of that and kind of work that into the calculations. The last thing we want to do is kind of overreact, based off all of this, because we can put the district in a bad situation.
Did any of these methods look at census data?
Yeah, when we get into kind of method 3, that's when we kind of get into some of the census type dynamic. I will say we don't kind of get into that from a heavy duty standpoint. That's more of a demographer kind of getting into that, and a whole different dynamic that costs tens of thousands of dollars to kind of get that report. But we do look at that in method 3 dynamic. And then again, with the educational summary here, we look at the building capacity versus the current enrollment. You can see we looked at it, 2 different ways of the way you're currently configured, the K through 8 and the 9 through 12. And your current buildings have about a little over 2,000 in terms of building capacity, and your current enrollment is about 1686. So there's a difference of about 400, student delta on that. Again, looking at the educational programs, we break it down based on existing and looking at the different options. And we also have this nice little graphical chart here. You can kind of see, again, looking at kind of method 1, which is the blue, method 2, and one's kind of trending downward, one's kind of trending upwards. And then looking at the efficiency with the spaces here, the K through 8, the existing, you have about 205,000 square feet. Option 1 would increase that a little bit, option 2 would stay the same, and option 3 would decrease that a little bit. So we look at this a lot of different ways, and again, this is the kind of executive summary. We have a lot of detail behind this to support it, but this is just the summary here we're presenting today. So as we get into the proposed option cost here, we look at the overall construction cost based off of option number 1, which is our status quo. It was decided by the team that we need 2 classrooms that we kind of maintain status quo, both at LB Mars and Penn Kidder. So we factored that in to our option number 1 here. What also we factored in here too was we included the rank 1 and 2 deficiencies, which total about $29.3 million. We didn't include all the deficiencies because that's not practical and realistic. Usually rank 1 and 2 are the ones you want to tackle immediately. So that's what we typically include when we're looking in the options to help us kind of compare apples to apples. The ideal situation is to be able to address your educational and demographic needs while also addressing your building deficiencies to give you the most value and the most bang for your buck for the district. So that's what this exercise is doing. Part of this exercise is doing to kind of see if there's, we see any kind of sweet spot here. Option number 2 is the grade realignment. You can see it's kind of very similar in cost, and we're also addressing the rank 1 and 2 deficiency costs within that. And actually, let me clarify that. Option number 1, because we're adding the 6,000 square feet, there's a delta of a couple $1 million between the deficiency costs and the new construction costs in here. So that's why that number 31.6 is higher than the 29.3. The 29.3 is included in the 31. So you can kind of get a little bit of perspective of how much the deficiency costs are on that. Whereas when you get to option number 2, we're just pretty much addressing the status quo on this along with the grade realignment. So we're basically just addressing deficiencies here with option number 2, along with the grade realignment. When we get to option number 3, cost jumps up a little bit. The square footage of the new school would be approximately about 96,000 square feet. Our renovation costs would drop, obviously, because Penn Kidder would come off the board. That would put the total construction cost of about 52.5. But out of that, about $18.6 million would be the ranking 2 study costs in terms of efficiencies. Why that drops is because Penn Kidder comes off the board, and we don't have the deficiencies at that school anymore because moving on from that. So that's it in a nutshell with looking at the proposed option costs here. Our next step, and we're currently working through this, and this takes a little bit of time to get through, is we start looking at the value of each of these different options here. And I'm going to fast forward here. Here's an example of another district we're working with. Kind of similar, they have 3 different options here. They have their status quo, and they'll address their status quo. They're about $14 million in terms of project. This is their annual debt load that they have to pay back. And we're also looking at annual operating expenses. And that plays a factor. Anytime you improve something, make it more efficient, you potentially see savings in that. Or if you kind of consolidate schools or close the school, you have operational expenses that are saved on that. So in this case, they're saving about $31,000 by the status quo, which gets their kind of annual net share. This is the number we look at here in blue, is where's the value at. It drops it to $838. Option number 1 here, it jumps up to about $20 million. However, their annual share is up to $1.2 million, which is the debt load, and they're already saving about $7,600. So overall, their debt load's at $1.2 million. However, when you get to options number 2 and 3 for this specific district, you can see, yes, the project cost jumps up. It's almost double from the status quo. Their share is double from status quo. However, their annual operating expenses are over $1 million in this case, and they're actually dropping their debt load to less than if they kind of just didn't, if they just addressed the efficiencies in the status quo option number 1. So this is the point we're working towards getting with Jim Thorpe School District. So you can really see where the value point is, to where you would like to spend your money, and you guys can make the best educated decision for your district. We're seeing a lot of cases, especially with major renovations and even new builds, that it's kind of counterintuitive, but they're spending more money to save more money. And we can kind of vet this out and kind of prove it based off of what we're seeing here. So right now, we're currently, at this point, we have a lot of to be determined because we're working through the numbers. But we have the overall project cost for each of the different options here. And as soon as we have this, we should have this ready by our next presentation. Not sure when that's going to be. But we'll have that and be able to kind of digest that a little bit more. And hopefully they... And right now, we just... In terms of...
Where is this?
93.
Clear Henry Park.
Okay. Okay,
Next to the park.
gotcha.
So it's just, again, this is conceptual, just kind of showing context. And we didn't do anything besides show a box. So that is our update. Any questions or?
Why wasn't one of your options,
Once we would consolidate all the schools in the county, what it would look like?
Regional school districts, and it seems both 9-0 on both of them. Everybody kind of just, I don't know, it's kind of becomes a thing. Not saying it can't be done at all, but that seems to be
Yeah, we can't,
the trend.
like there's 45 school directors for the county. A complete slate of candidates that want to run the schools, We go down, if you could get a regional school going, we get down to 9 school directors for the whole county, and really look at what's going on. And everybody get their own little kingdoms out of the way. That's what actually is initially the resistance. And I will say this, back in 1955, when we merged our districts here, Mock Chunk School District, East Mock Chunk School District, were ferocious rivals in sports. The first buddies in the world.
That's the way it usually works out.
The young people, they can absorb it. Yep.
A couple other things we're going to get to too. We have this chart we've been using with several districts here, and it kind of shows you how to get from point A to point B with large projects and even smaller projects, and how to put it all together. We kind of go by, campus projects. In this case, it's the high school. We put on basically all the different projects for all the different buildings. And we kind of get to our summary sheet here, and we kind of add up all the costs based on all the projects. And in this case, it's $94 million. This is over a 10-year period between phase 1 and phase 5. We also look at the project funding over here, and we try to reconcile this based on what they're doing at this particular time. They have about a $12 million, gap between the projects they want to do over a 10-year period of time and what the funding is. However, we're still looking into the different kind of consolidation and operating expenses, some of the energy saving expenses, and some of the other expenses that I think we've already actually bridged the gap, and we've actually, I think, have about a $2 million surplus kind of going through this. But it kind of lines kind of a roadmap of how you get there. If you're serious about the projects and how you attack this, because it is quite complex, and no district does this everything in year one. So it's usually spread out over 5 or 10 year period, and it's good to have that roadmap. We're also seeing a lot of districts really focus on the solar dynamic, and the next presentation will probably have some more information about that to see if it's viable for Jim Thorpe. But we're going through that process too, because that can factor in with some of the savings and the rebates, especially if you kind of package that with geothermal. There's a lot of benefits right now that you can take advantage of. And as I mentioned before, the Infrastructure Reduction Act definitely took off some of the constraints for nonprofits and school districts that you can dump as much as you want into the grid, and they kind of cut out the middleman. Both are savings for the district for solar, which weren't there before, which really make the numbers work that much better. So definitely worth looking at and taking advantage of, because we're not quite sure within a year or two what's going to be there, if anything's going to be rolled back, but we're pretty certain there's probably about a 12 to 24 month window here that you can still take advantage of.
Do you realize McClure did a study for us?
Yes, yeah, we're actually talking to them, and we let them know that we don't cut down trees to put up solar. So we have to find other ways to do that. I mean, you can do rooftop. You can do it over the parking lot too, but with the infrastructure that you have to build, it kind of really erodes at your payback. It really kind of increases that versus decreases that. So
I see some places they put solar panels up high enough and park cars underneath them.
yeah, that's why they take advantage of the parking lots for that. But that gets costly because of the infrastructure that you need for that.
But I know at Penn Kidder, there's fields available out there for sale. At Penn Kidder for solar. We have a huge 140 acre parcel that you described here as for a new school, we could put a ton of solar in out there.
Yeah, we see the energy codes going towards net zero energy. They're supposed to be by 2030, but it's coming. Probably within a 10-year period. And you don't want to be left, with 2 years to go to kind of meet, what you need to meet from an energy standpoint.
What do you mean by infrastructure?
Like even if you put in a smaller system initially, you can kind of expand the initial infrastructure that you can add on to that in the future. So it's a little bit more upfront cost, but you can build upon it. That'll be the simplest way to explain that. Definitely a lot of good stuff to take advantage of right now when it comes to energy savings. So, but we're going to work through that and be able to show that next time.
I'll ask our principal here, Tom, how many more years is this building good for? You've been in this building for 20 years.
It's a solid building, it's been maintained very well. I mean, it's, the roof is the
Yeah,
is the
it's always
vulnerable
the
area.
roof.
And the parking lot. The building itself is very sound. It's from 19,
You think we can get another 20 years out of this building?
oh, easily. The front of the building is 1930, and it's still solid as ever.
32, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
so it's very sound.
And this building actually has the least of money per square foot.
Need, Rob, that's needed.
Yeah, this is the actual building that's in the best use, according to the amount of money per square foot put into it.
How did that work out, Mary, when you put like junior high kids in with the senior high kids?
It worked out well when I was,
Panther Valley
yeah,
did it.
we did that realignment there, which,
But we had them during both renovation project, building and
Yeah,
renovation.
I remember.
It was fine. Parents were very afraid that there was going to be
Yeah.
this
I think we
mingling.
only-
and-
I think we only
But
brought
it-
7th and 8th grade here, Tom.
no, that's, yeah, that's what I was saying, maybe.
Yeah.
Putting on the 2 extra class,
I have a question, Mary. What about 6, 7, 8? Is there room to do 6, 7,
I don't
8?
think so,
To
based
keep them
upon,
as a junior high?
if I looked at the numbers, like if the numbers are here, so as the seniors leave this year, that means, like next year, 141 students are coming, so you're getting in an extra 16 kids. But you're also adding, so like the 6th and 7th grade for next year is 264, so you're looking at about, what's that, like, what, 280 some? Plus the 499 comes to like, 5, 6, close to the 802, 780. So you're pushing it right there, but you might not need to. It also, add in 2 extra classrooms, but it also gives kids in 7th and 8th grade some of those opportunities for
Right.
exploration.
Right, I just was thinking about that middle school
No,
hub.
I get it. Instead of like a K through 5 building.
No,
I don't
I
know.
was always a principal of a 7th grade.
Yep.
And it works out.
I know, I actually really like
You
the
can
7th
take
through
7th,
12
8th
building. I
graders,
know that
like you
sounds.
said, like explorations, they can get into other.
And I'm just going to throw this out there because, this was the big issue from a lot of parents. And, again, option 2 sounds really great, with the grade realignment. We're going to definitely have pushbacks from parents. Parents who are out the mountain do not want to have their kids come into town. Same thing, parents that have kindergarten kids do not want to send their kids all the way out to Penn Kidder. I mean, they told us that.
I'll
So-
tell you that as a parent, I'm 100% with that. That's why I was thinking about the same thing with the proposal of another building as opposed to Penn Kidder. The first thing that went through my mind was, now we're gonna have 20 minutes there and 35 to get down here. I'm in Valley View, I'm probably one of the furthest
Yes.
developments, so that's a very tough pill to swallow.
There- I mean-
For me as a parent, I know community parents as well.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing too. I'm Jim Thorpe's representative at the VOTEC. We were gonna do some renovations here. With like cosmetology bigger. I think you were superintendent of record, Rob, when we were considered, so they shut that down because the culinary was gonna be a lot more money. So they said, what can we add? So a bunch of people from the VOTEC went to where they have a meeting with all the VOTEC people. What are you doing at your VOTEC that we're not doing? So maybe we're gonna take more students at the VOTEC if we go into a building project there. Hopefully we do make it available, because as it is as it is right now, they turn kids away over there.
We understand the politics and everything. We're actually dealing with several districts that have a very big footprint. And one of the districts, they're really looking at closing 3 of the elementary schools. And they have a humongous issue, and they just want to build one big one at the main campus with the middle school, high school. And we're showing the data. Say, hey, does this make sense dollars and cents wise? Can we make a case? We understand there's a whole other emotional, political side to it. So we're just saying, hey, this will be the best one to vet out. If you can make it work, if not, we'll have to look at other options here. So we're just going through the process. Nothing wrong with them, we can still look at other options, but we're just going through the process to do our due diligence and say, hey, you know, we have a responsibility that the taxpayers do, so does this make sense, or does something else make sense? So it's kind of that, you know,
Who is on the study with him, Rob?
We all are, so he meets with principals, he meets with Brian, myself, Charlie, we all.
Ryan, did you get the new figure for assessed valuation for taxing? You know, it's gonna come out very shortly because the county needs it and the municipality need that figure. You know, you get it once a year in January.
Yeah, I got it.
How much did that go up?
one of the nice things too with a few of our districts, kind of going back to the example here, is getting in this range really minimizes tax increases, you know, for districts. I can't say it can totally eliminate it, but you're looking at some significant operational savings. And again, that's what we want to vet out to say, hey, even though this might cause some other issues in terms of distance and, you know, some districts have a lot of emotional attachment to certain buildings because of the history of it. Is there an opportunity that we don't have to increase taxes or minimally increase taxes because we're really investing in our future and, you know, kind of having a lot of operational savings. So definitely understand there's a lot of play here, you know, and it's what's most important to you guys.
Any other questions for Bruce? Put it back again once we have that, and we'll also put that other option on there.
Thank you.
Is this all within your, is this all within the fee that you bid for to do this?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
We do a lot of these. It's fun.
All right. Well, thank you, Bruce.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with Godshall at all? The architects?
I'm sorry?
Godshall? Are you
I've
familiar?
heard of them, and then there's the Godshall Interiors group too.
But Godshall is the people that are working on the Votech. That's who did the last renovation for us over there too. I'll just throw that out there in case you have to bump heads with them on anything.
We bump heads with a lot of architects.
All right, so move on to the next part. We have a couple small things here for the Keystone League at the high school. So, Kathy, you want to talk about that?
Just like last year, it worked pretty well. I'd like to just put it out there, Tom can chime in, but to make the first week of Keystones, where just the children taking the Keystones come in, you take their assessments, we have a true testing climate, and the other kids who are not testing, they're home doing online learning. So while staff is here, they have their assignments, so we're just asking if that would be a possibility for spring of 2025, would be the weeks of May 12th. So it would be 3 days of testing and the other 2 regular instructional day.
It really did work really well.
It's about a third of our students. It creates that testing atmosphere, no distractions, and small group testing. That's the other ideal thing. Where, we have 15 kids at most in a class, so it's,
Minimize
yeah.
your distractions.
We had no issues, the kids are already late, doing floating around, and kids liked it, teachers liked it, I think it was a good testing environment. So I'd like to pitch that again for spring of 2025.
And Rob, by the way, school just did, they increased their attendance by 50%.
Taking the test.
Taking the test, yeah, it was 50% less absences. And the kids were happy and they were ready to work, and it was just a totally different environment. It was their first year. So,
That's good.
yeah.
So that's just something we just want to talk about. So that'll be brought back up when we come closer to that. It doesn't really affect schedules too much, just that the people who aren't testing are then taking virtual days. So they're still taking their classes virtually, doing their work.
That's a little bit different with busing than those certain
we adjust the busing, because we don't need busing as many students, so we take care of all that. But it worked well back there, we thought, so we want to try to do it again.
Thank you.
Okay, so next one, we had a snow day. So, just looking at how we want to do that. Our first snow day, I just wanted to get everybody's opinion on this, because there's a couple different options we could do. The first makeup snow day is right here, February 17th. That's President's holiday. There's 4 into this schedule. There's 3 there. There's 3 there, and there's 3 right here on the Easter break. So I can either take the 17th, I can take the 14th. I could also could make one of them an Act 80 day for professional development, where students just don't come in. The new law for the state says that you can do 900 hours. Now, likely will we have more snow days? So we may be taking Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday. So, but again, I just want to throw out there as options for you guys, how would you like me to do this? I can just take the 17th, make it a full school day and move on. Make it a full school day and move on. Or I could.
What would be the most convenient for
Well,
everyone?
it depends. The easiest one is just I'll just make that a school day, the 17th. That's the easiest one. But sorry, that's the easiest one. I could, if we did make an Act 80 day towards the Easter break, that would be something that we could then sit down. That's right around the time where the testing is going on.
It's Easter Monday.
Yeah. So that's the Monday before Easter, not the Monday after.
Yeah, well, testing starts.
Testing
the state
starts.
The state put the testing
Yes.
start
Yes.
on Easter Monday, most schools are off.
Yes. it does.
Makes a lot of sense.
So testing actually starts right here, and we're off that day because we're always off. So we're off the Thursday, the Friday, and the Monday. The other 3 are snow days in there. So our testing actually starts on the 22nd. The 14th could be used as an Act 80 day for teachers to. We could do professional development there. If it's only one snow day, I really don't want to make just one student day. Because then what will our attendance be on that day? It's for break,
Like the
But most likely we'll have more than one snow day.
I think do the 17th for now.
I'm
see how-
worried too. I kind of agree, Michelle. I mean, everybody needs a break, but I'm worried. I know how things go around here with how many days we usually have off.
Right. So then I'll just update it. It'll be on the agenda for the 17th will become a snow makeup day, full day school for students.
Yes.
That's all I needed to. Okay, so Brian, discussion on that bond refinance and the CDs, and then also discussion on the IU budget.
Jerry, on your question, assessed values went up $17 million as of November, which is like 2.5% increase from last year.
Multiplied by our millage, how much in dollars and cents is it?
About $800,000.
Almost $1 million. Almost $1 million.
CDs, so we have some, I worked with PFLAP to create a cash flow schedule for the district to help us invest our money more timely, take advantage of the good interest rates that we still currently have. So in that schedule, January is the time to reinvest some of our cash. So I'm recommending we invest $5 million, 2.5 in a CD and a PFLAP at 4.10%. That would mature around September 10th. And then another shorter term CD that would, not CD, a treasury bond that would mature on July 10th at 4.09%, another 2.5 million. I reached out to Jim Thorpe, Neighborhood Bank, on their rates. Their rates are lower, 3.6, 3.7, 3.75 based on different terms. So I recommend that we go with PFLAP for our short-term investment.
I agree.
And And so just the CD, I have to confirm with them by the 10th, so that will be done before the meeting, but we will just reaffirm the 10th or board meeting on Monday.
Sure.
How much money is that gonna generate?
It was $38,000 on the 4.09%, about the same, so just
Okay.
under 40,000.
Who's the institution, Brian?
PISA. They're a financial institution built for municipalities and school districts. We have money with them already. We currently have $5.8 million with them now. So I only have to move 2.5 out of the import bank in PISA. We have 2.5 that we can reinvest in PISA already.
Are they FDIC protected?
Yeah. And everything's collateralized. Oh, the bond refinance. So the bond refinance started in October, I believe. It's actually gonna be finalized tomorrow. We will save approximately $90,000 over the next 2 years. We'll get the final amortization schedule probably next week. That's our good work.
Is that the 2005 bond issue?
That was the one, it was up for call, it was called in December. We refinanced at a lower rate to save us $90,000. They adjusted the payment schedule a little bit, but everything falls within the same fiscal year.
And then the last thing we have here, these, budgets
One
will
other
be.
question, Brian, how
Okay.
much are we in debt? Did you say?
At 12 million? I'd have to look it up, but
I know we were getting close to being out of debt.
I think by 2032. Double that.
Thank you.
These are our educational partnerships, I call them, CCTI, CLIU, and LTIC. We have to approve their budgets for next year. So we put together just a quick schedule of what we paid last year to each institution for the fee, and then what the proposal is for this year. And as you can see, they all went down, not by a lot, but they all decreased for the upcoming school year. So we're recommending that we approve their budgets after January, the resolutions. I have the actual budget, proposed budgets from them, if you want me to email them to you, if you want to look at them in greater detail. But there's not a lot of change.
Okay, and the last thing we have, I met with, Mary, and we, it was a request to, what are our needs for next year? And to have a kind of presentation of what are our curricular needs, what are some facility needs, what are some staffing needs. So, we sat down with the administration, and we went through, we started looking, okay, what are some, now, this is, I'll say, this is like our wish list of the things that we think we could use. Does it mean all of them are coming? Absolutely not. But we wanted to list some of the things in here that we think that we could really use to benefit the district, either fiscally, to benefit our students, benefit our staff. So the first one we looked at, social worker. We currently don't have one. Okay, we contract from BHA, but that person is not a licensed social worker. So this is one thing that we keep saying, is that we're overwhelmed with the numbers of students that are coming in with behavioral and mental health needs, and our counselors are just like swamped with this. We get an individual counselor from Lehigh. Yeah.
LBHN.
Yeah, LVHN. So we get one, but again, that caseload is limited. And then we have the person we contract with VHA who helps out, but we don't have enough staff here for this need. So what would it benefit? They give us crisis support intervention, they can do individual and group counseling, mental health outreach for students and parents, they'll be part of the assessment team, they collaborate with our school counselors on school-wide individual student matters, they'll be part of the staff team, they support our staff in dealing with student issues, student check-ins, and other help for students and staff. So social workers would be a major help to our district.
I'm surprised we don't have one, only because the recommendation is one social worker for every 500 students. So we don't have any, any licensed social workers.
No licensed social worker. So we have, through LBHN, I have met with LBHN asking to see if we can get others, and they're looking for them themselves.
Is that number one on your wish list?
That would be close there too, number one.
I would think so.
Okay, we think that would be extremely helpful to staff, students, to help with the things that we're observing, because the behaviors and mental health needs, they're not decreasing.
So, Brian, if, looking at this, would you be able to figure out how much the cost of that would be with a social worker with benefits, and, or have you done that already?
I don't think I did for that one, but, yeah, I mean, if I had a base salary, I could figure out what the annual cost.
And would they be under a certain contract, Rob? How would you look at that?
I would look at them as part of the teacher's contract and put them on that scale. So they would be, at minimum, they're gonna come in with, if they're licensed, they're gonna come in with a master's degree. And you'd have to look at, if they have a caseload, you know, what do we pay them over the summer for certain hours, because you don't want to just drop the kids at the end of, beginning of June and say, I'll see you again in August, September, and, you know, now those kids you've been helping for all those months are just out there. So we would have to look at something, some type of thing over the summer to continue some of that.
That'd be a standalone contract, Rob.
No, it could be right into the teacher contract. If that's the way, or it could be a standalone, however. It could right into the.
I think,
Recommends,
I have the number. So, math, low level, like, entry
in middle school, there's one of my elementary
where
schools.
do you get them from, Mary?
You know,
Are they staff members now?
Yes, they're staff members.
Yep.
But, yes, and they have to go through some, they have to be, I forget what it is, like 16.
So that's our first one. We have two life skills classes over at LB. We currently have 3 IU classrooms over here for that. We recommend taking 2 of those back. Majority of those classes are Jimmy Thorpe students that we are paying, what, 40 that properly trained staff. So again, that's not it.
So we brought back the EX classrooms,
Yes.
right now we're looking to add this, yes, this sounds like a support that's needed. Do you project that if we add the life skills classrooms, that you're gonna see a need for something else? Do you think there is a gap that
life
would
skills?
be needed there in the life skills room that would be the next level for them?
As of right now, no, because
Okay.
part of that would come from the BCBA educational consultant. So that role is gonna be teacher contract, however, stipended, if that's a word, with a stipend, so that they can, be compensated for the behavior background. So sometimes you'll have a student in a life skills class with a behavior, so they can pop into those classes and support that, and then with the educational consultant piece, then they also have the academic background for curricular support for those type of things that we can get that background in. Also with the BCBA, she can support which would then create with the life skills, that turns our current life skills class into autistic support. So then she can then provide map support and all of the autistic ABA practices, all that modeling and support can be done with that person.
With that person too. Okay, thank you.
And again, the BCBA is important because not only do our special ed teachers and paras need support, but regular teachers need that. The BCBA can get in there to help model for regular teacher, because when the object is to get those life skills and ES students out as much as possible into the regular ed core curriculum with supports. So those regular ed teachers need those trainings as well, in that support, so that CBA would really be able to help with that. Fine.
The Act 93, whatever we call the position, whether it be a coordinator or a supervisor of special education,